Ladies and gentlemen, for your first trick,
Hey, look at that.
Tom Grossi balances a pin on his nose.
I'm going to do a 360.
Are you impressed?
Damn it!
Nope. Nobody's impressed.
No one's impressed. Just cancel the show.
Oh, God.
Oh, baby. We here.
We steer.
You in the right direction. Welcome to another edition of the Grossi Perna Show. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. And this is Jake. Yes. Hey, we're here. News is actually broken. After what has been a calmer end of the week, after the craziness of free agency, things started ramping up. We had some trades going on. We had after we ended the show, Cooper Kupp later that night went to the Seattle Seahawks, signed a 3-year, $45 million deal. We're still waiting to see what the exact contract is, because that's what I'm very curious about. I want to see how much that guaranteed money is. That's what I really want to see. Then, of course, you had Jordan Mason. So that was another one going over to the Minnesota Vikings, which I think is a low-key really good signing for the Minnesota Vikings and a little questioning for the 49ers. We'll talk about that. But, of course, last night you had the huge news break that I don't think I've seen this before, where you had a tag team of signings announced at the same exact time. And that is Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins getting signed, extended by the Cincinnati Bengals. Ja'Marr Chase becoming the highest paid non-QB in NFL history. He's getting $40.25 million per year. Chase is getting over $28 million a year. And then, of course, even this morning, more records being broken. And Derek Stingley becoming the highest paid corner in NFL history. This, of course, coming after J.C. Horn got his mega deal. Was that last week? But now there's a new highest paid CB. Here we go. Derek Stingley. So a lot of things happening over these past couple of days. Things starting to move. And it really seems like the only thing we're waiting on now is Trey Hendrickson, who, according to Rossini, is talking to the Bengals. Apparently, the Bengals are having a chit-chat about maybe they're able to bring him back in. I don't know where that money's going to be found. Maybe, found the pot of gold for St. Paddy's Day. And then, of course, we got to wait for Aaron Rodgers as well, who we're still waiting.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to get a deal done with Trey Hendrickson. Where are the Bengals at? I'm going to pull up their cap.
Bengals at
well, they got 28 mil in cap right now.
Move some things around.
I don't know. And that's going to be 26. They got 26 mil, 21 mil for T and Ja'Marr. I don't know if those are finalized yet, but if I'm T Higgins, I don't know why the fuck I stayed with Cincinnati. Like, you see your teammate get a contract at the exact same time as you, and they're giving him 48 million more.
I mean, he's a better
you can live with that if it's the year before. Like, oh yeah, market went up, the contracts go up, but at the exact same time, you're like, damn, I'm really good too, and this guy's worth 58 million more to you guys than me.
I mean, yes, but
I'm talking about for his ego, nothing else.
Oh, got it.
Just the ego, like, oh.
I mean, he's the ninth highest paid wide receiver in the league right now. I think he's a top 10 paid wide receiver, which is, you look at some of these contracts, like even the Justin Jefferson contract, right? And how well that's going to age. You look at, like, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and because he's 30 mil, I want to say, a year. I think. Hold on.
It's a lot. There's a lot of money out there. I think, like, in terms of the Bengals and what they're doing,
30.
I have no idea if this is great, if it's amazing, or if it's gonna, just lead to a similar season as they had last year. And I think that's the nice thing if you're a Bengals fan. The worst case scenario is your team is fun, your offense is awesome, and you miss the playoffs barely because, your defense isn't great. But I think like they added Oren Burks to that defense, which I like.
Yes.
And I think it's tough because we saw what this team is last year in this situation. And as long as they don't get off to the slow start, they should be okay for the next couple of years. And maybe in a few years, we're like, when these contracts are actually below market value, we're like, oh, the Bengals are in a great place. But you would have liked to stagger out T. Higgins, Trey, and Jamar in how you pay them. It's odd because you see two things happening right now. There's a lot of praise, and there's a lot of people like, this is stupid. Ultimately, Joe Burrow, as an elite quarterback, has the two best receiving weapons in the league right now. He's got two better weapons than Mahomes. He's got two better weapons than Josh Allen. And the Bengals have to win in the playoffs next year for us to be like, okay, this was the right thing for them to do. And I hope it works because they are one of the more fun teams to watch. But we don't know. This is the biggest, like, I don't know if this is going to work.
So that's what I'm curious. Like, what's your immediate take on this? Like, do you think that the contracts that were given out to both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, like the Jamar Chase one, I understand 1,000,000,000%.
Yeah.
You know, you can make a very strong argument that he's the best receiver in the league. And if not, he's top 2, top 3. You can make a very strong argument. And the way that the market's going, you know, he's going to get paid a lot of money. The T. Higgins, I think the only thing I'm really questioning is the decision to bring them both back. Now, all that being said, if they bring back Trey Hendrickson, then it's like, okay, but just looking at where things are right this second, they're basically the same team that they were last year, right?
Yeah.
But as you just mentioned, get off to a faster start, could make the playoffs. There was times where, hey, like they were not only super competitive, they were beating good teams. And you got to hope that maybe like the offensive line is going to take another step. Mims is going to look better this season. Maybe they're able to hit a home run in the draft and that'll make some things better. I'm curious what your take is on like right now, if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you bringing both those guys back for that money.
Yeah. If I'm a Bengals fan, I'm happy. If I'm a Bengals fan, I'm happy. I also get the critiques of it. The real issue, there's two big issues in my mind, and we've been working on a Bengals video, so I've thought about this shit probably more than I ever thought I'd be thinking about the Bengals. But if T. Higgins gets hurt, which he hasn't stayed healthy fully, you know, he's never like these huge injuries, but T. Higgins misses time every year, it feels like. Let me just double check. But the point is, like, if one of these guys get hurt, what's their depth? How do they fill that vacancy? The other part is, okay, if this was the Eagles doing this right now, we'd be like, fucking Howie Roseman, genius, 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 right? Like, they'll figure it out.
The optics.
We trust them.
Got it.
They have the history of trust. The Eagles, Howie Roseman does. The Bengals historically have done the opposite of what they are currently doing right now. So it's like, okay, you can pay these guys. The salary cap's going to continue to go up. You can make all these contracts work. Are they going to stick to that plan and continue to do it until the wheels fall off of Joe Burrow, right? Like, that's what you got to be willing to do. Is like, okay, we're going to dump money. We're going to put guaranteed money. We're going to pay the great players we do draft. We'll go get free agents when we need to. If this is the new way that they do things, then I like it. But historically speaking, and we're talking like 30 years of history,
correct,
we don't know if that's true yet. So when a team changes this hard, like the sharp turn is that significant, you don't know. But I think, if anything, maybe they finally learned their lesson. They are listening to Joe Burrow and appeasing a very talented quarterback, keeping him happy. And I will say this.
Appeasement has worked historically.
Well, I mean, I think it does work for top tier quarterbacks because Carson Palmer, they pissed him off so bad he retired, right? Like, he literally retired until they traded him to the Raiders. They believed in Andy Dalton for far too long, but I think keeping Joe Burrow happy is a good thing. And then I think you've seen something where we thought T. Higgins would be traded. We thought Trey Hendrickson would be traded, and it would have made a lot of sense. But both of those guys appear to be very committed to coming back to the Bengals. And I think the reason they want to come back is to play with Joe Burrow, and they like the team they have there. So I think there is some merit in keeping a guy like Joe Burrow happy and appeased, because I think he's different than, are you alluding to an Aaron Rodgers? Are you alluding to Aaron Rodgers?
Me, I was just saying historically,
Are you alluding to Rodgers?
I'm not talking about just football. I'm saying in the history of the world. I mean, when has appeasement not worked?
Okay. I think the pieces of appeasement here are better, right? I think T and Jamar are better than so I don't know. Was it Cobb, Lazard, and eventually Devontae?
Yeah.
I mean, prime Devontae on the same level, but again, it's tricky because we don't know the Bengals are their front office right now, their ownership, they did a 180 on us, and we don't know how to process it. I keep seeing this is going to be a case study, and I kind of agree.
I think so. Just to confirm what you were talking about before. So T. Higgins, right? So games started 14, 14, 14, 11, 9, right? So he's missed some time in each of his seasons here. And to answer this super chat, so right now with Christian Watson, you have 11, 9, and 15. Depends on if he comes back and how he plays. Like, they might give him 15 to 20 million for like a 2 to 3 year deal. I would imagine what that would look like. But for T. Higgins, I agree with you in the sense of on paper, you go, okay, Jamar Chase is a no-brainer for me. Like, I have zero qualms with that. He was going to make an insane amount of money. And as I said, like, he's one of the most talented wide receivers currently in the league. And like, he's just really damn good. Right. So that I have no problem with. Record's going to be broken. There's going to be a new highest paid wide receiver in a couple years. And I think we also anticipated this, right? When we saw Justin Jefferson get a ton of money, we were like, oh, Jamar Chase is going to be the next guy who is going to make a ton of money. Yes. The question is T. Higgins, because you mentioned about the injuries, but then you also mentioned just how much money is tied up into 3 guys, because $55 million a year for Joe Burrow, worth it, right? Great quarterback. Jamar Chase, about $40.25 million per year. And now T. Higgins is $28.75 million per year. So in those 3 players, you got about $125 million wrapped up into just 3 guys. Now, those 3 guys can put up a ton of production, but you take a look at another team that is about to do a similar thing, and that is going to be the Dallas Cowboys, right? The Cowboys got a whole lot of money in Dak, got a whole lot of money in CeeDee Lamb, and they're about to dump a whole lot of money in Micah Parsons if he winds up re-signing there, which is what that looks like. So I think on paper, it makes sense because you want to keep this squad together, bless you, for your offense to continue to do well. And like you said, they're going to put up points regardless if some folks miss time. I think it's just there has to be those results because we're talking about 4 years, right? If we're giving us a 4, I want to see what the actual contract breakdowns look like, but within the next 4 years, does this move give the Bengals a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I don't know.
Based on what their defense currently looks like, based on what their offensive line looks like, and that's an impossible answer, right? Because you have to see what they're going to do in the draft. Are they going to bring back Hendrickson? It just makes those moves to go get those pieces more difficult to do because you're putting so much money here. So my only question is the T. Higgins one of giving him this amount of money. If I'm the Bengals, I might have turned around and said, hey, I'm going to let somebody else pay, T. Higgins. I know Joe Burrow wanted to keep T. Higgins, but then maybe I'm taking some shots, in the draft of go getting some wide receivers and hope that you can potentially match the production of T. Higgins. Yeah. Which I don't know if you do that within 4 years.
It's hard to say. I think like the reasons you justify it is one, the Bengals passed more than any other offense last year, 67% of the time, I think. And right here, this is like Joe Burrow's passing stats when targeting T or Chase. It's very, very, very good, right? Mm-hmm. So offense that is going to continue to be pass heavy, boom, this makes sense. Burrow's better when Higgins and Chase are on the field. Okay, let's keep them around. Again, if one of those guys gets hurt, what's their depth? Maybe they're screwed there. I don't know. But then you start to ask other questions, right? Like Joe Burrow continually has one of the higher sack rates of all quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yes.
Is that because his offensive line is bad? Or is that because they are a team that just passes more than all other teams on a percentage basis? Are you passing that much because you never have a lead? Or every time you do get a lead, it immediately goes away because your defense is not good?
Sure.
So, and I was putting this in the Bengals script. It's like every time you answer a question for the Bengals, I feel like a new one gets posed about like, here's your answer, but here's the new question. And we just don't know. I hope it works out because I like the idea of teams paying a couple elite receivers for their elite quarterback. And it's just more fun to watch. And last year, like the first month and a half of football, 2 months, because we did a video about like the death of the NFL passing league and how like the passing game had changed. The Bengals were kind of an outlier there. They're still fucking just lighting it up.
Yeah.
Burrow throwing bombs, throwing it all over the place, and they kind of had to. So as a football fan, you want to see more of this. Like you want to see teams put two of the best receivers in the game with one of the best quarterbacks, because that is more entertaining in terms of what you're viewing. Will it work? We don't know.
Smilko, I really, honestly, I can't even. Higgins is the only guy that maybe I look about for injuries, but injuries are going to happen, especially as the seasons get longer. So, like, you could say it about any single contract. You know, like I'm not, because if Joe Burrow goes down, they're all screwed, right? Like that's just So I think ultimately, I just, in terms of roster building and team building, I don't know. Like that's it is a risk, and I applaud the risk because they're like, hey, we have a 4-year window to try like keeping this offense together to try and go win a Super Bowl. However, they are going to be a little bit more handcuffed on the deals that they can make. That let's just say they're a couple pieces away about going to get maybe a splashy free agent or something like that. Because re-signing is a big part of free agency, right? Like that counts. I know it's not making the huge splashy moves because you're not going to get somebody new, but T. Higgins and Jamar Chase work within this offense. It's just this team's got to get better, because where they were last year was good. And there were times where they looked like, oh, damn, you know, that offense is really, really good, but they have to get better. The offensive line has to get better. They went and tried to address that in the draft with Mims. Got to play better. And then, of course, we talk about the defense. So they bring back Hendrickson. I feel a little bit better. But again, that's short term, right? Because right now, I think for the Bengals, you have that 4-year window. Because you look at the Bills, and they're kind of the opposite right now. Because they're not really putting a ton of money into multiple wide receivers, right? Shakir's getting some money, but they don't have these big name wide receivers. And even with the Chiefs, too, they don't really have them either. So this is just a different way to try to approach this, but will their defense be able to catch up to the production of their offense, or at least make it so they don't have to score 45 points a game? You know?
And that's the thing. I think like if you're looking at these three guys, you can't replace Jamar Chase. You just can't. And I think it would be very difficult to replace Trey Hendrickson's production, right? He's a sack leader last year on a defense that really wasn't impressive, which makes what he was doing even more noteworthy. I think T. Higgins is a phenomenal talent.
Yeah, he's
an
great.
Insane talent. He would be a wide receiver 1 on a lot of football teams.
Sure.
But you could probably replace him either by let's just use Cooper Kupp as an example. The Bengals could have brought in Cooper Kupp for a couple years and it would be a lot cheaper. And I'm not saying Cooper Kupp's as good as T. Higgins right now, but you can get great production out of Cooper Kupp in this offense, or you plan on building and drafting those pieces, right? So like what I'm saying is there's options to replace that. Now, I'm not saying it's a apples for apples replacement of T. Higgins, but if you're going to use the Bills as an example or the Chiefs as an example, you can get the production, even if it's not just one guy. Yeah, it's a couple pieces there. And if they would have paid T last year, or the year before, this is exactly what we're talking about.
Yes.
It's these two guys, right? Because the Eagles are an example who kind of played this game the way that the Bengals are right now. The Cowboys are an example who kind of did it where it didn't work. Ton of money in Dak, ton of money in CeeDee Lamb, and they haven't gotten the wins to back it. But like AJ Brown, $32 million per year, Devontae Smith, 25. T's number would be better this year. Also, Pat Surtain right now, $24 million per year in the corner market. Derek Stingley just went up to $30 million per year.
JC Horn,
the cap goes up every year.
Yep.
So these issues they're not that big of a deal because the cap's going to keep going up.
Correct.
But again, are the Bengals going to be a team that keeps spending as it goes up?
Yes.
Or do they revert back to being just a little timid and scared to spin?
Because this is part one, right? Like this is part one of like, hey, I want to go win a Super Bowl. This is how we think that we can do it. There's still pieces that needed to be added, and there's still development that needs to be had. And Phoenix, listen, I don't think the Vikings want Aaron Rodgers. We'll talk about Aaron Rodgers, but hey, he goes there. Have a great time. Enjoy yourself. Rock out.
Yeah.
Not a game changer. No, all the edge rushers that they could have brought in, I think for this free agency is there's going to be maybe just depth pieces, but I don't think so. You don't have enough. Yeah, for the Bengals right now, I feel like I need to see what they do in the draft, and we need to see how guys develop. If the offensive line is better, the offense is going to be better. If they bring back Trey Hendrickson and like Oren Burks does really well within there, you know what I mean? Like they still need to rebuild that secondary a bit. Yeah. But then I'll feel better about because they still didn't replace Jesse Bates. So I think that for the Bengals, it's I think it's what you said. This is going to keep the team exciting, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Within the next 4 years, can they bring in the pieces that are going to put them over the top so that they can be a competitive Super Bowl team? And the nice thing is the Bengals defense doesn't have to be great. It just has to not be dog shit. It just has to be serviceable. Like building a serviceable defense is a very obtainable sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And Oren Burks and Logan Wilson next to each other, that's a very nice. Add more beef on the defensive line through this draft. Maybe take a running back in this draft. They'll be cooking. Again, it's not like they got to have a top 10 defense. They got to have a top 20 defense, and they'll be very good again. What? King Andrew just broke the donation record through Streamlabs. Whoa. Whoa. What'd he do? Hold on. I have to pull up Streamlabs now. Okay. Well, what the hell? I'm going to have to change this. But King Andrew writes, for the vet bills, also, please make the name on the donation Long Live the Queen. This is in her honor. 64 for Andy Reid's college number, 15 for Mahomes, 87 for Kelsey. King Andrew just donated $6,415.87. Nice. On an episode of GPS. That is wild. That is wild. All hail the king. Crown fit for a king. What? Where is okay. That's a good day's work, Tom. Yeah. That's a fair question. Is King Andrew a billionaire? No. And that's the thing. No. I know he's not a billionaire. He's too nice. He's too giving. He's too giving. God, man. Amazing. Do I thank you? How many boops? How many feet? Okay. No, we don't got to do feet. King Andrew says, I'm a dog person. One of ours is about to have an MRI. Vet bills are expensive. You're not wrong, but you didn't have to do that. That's crazy. Also, do you want me to restart it? You're at day 176 right now. Do you want me to restart it or keep it going? hold. Okay. All right. Perna, yeah, hold on. Sorry. That was not an expected thing to happen this morning. And I hope your pupper is okay, King Andrew. Holy God. Okay. Okay. All right.
This is crazy too.
That's insane too. Good God, man. All right, you got the call? Let's go.
She's getting new organs.
Let's go.
Did she point and say cool shit? Did she
Hell
point and say cool shit?
We got
Amazing.
We got dono records. We got contracts. We got new organs.
What a wild time.
Holy crap. Okay. Thank you. And thank you. Also, a huge shout out to your wife. That's incredible. There's a lot going on. I thought, man, we're going to have a good debate about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. This was not on the... Okay. All right. You know what, King Andrew? I'm just going to go live after GPS just for this. So I'll do the boops. We'll do the feet. We'll do everything in one shot. So thank you. You'll get your own stream. We'll do that. All right.
Justified.
Also, hell yeah. Congratulations on the new organs. Let's go. I hope they're dope-ass organs. I hope they are.
Hope they're the best organs.
I hope they're the best organs that you could possibly have. That's it. Holy crap, man. Okay. Yeah, we'll finagle. We'll do things. We don't have, yeah, we'll do boops. We'll do feet. We won't subject Brandon Perna to that right this second because, yeah.
That's a lot of boops and feet.
That's a lot of boops and feet. Good God. Thank you is not adequate, but
I only know Gunnar Helm, but I'll take your word for it.
It's a great name. That's a
Gunnar.
That's a great name.
That's a good tight end name. Gunnar Helm.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Hey, listen, that's what I'm saying. Historically, appeasement has always worked. It's always worked. I don't think there's one time in human history where appeasement hasn't worked. So, yeah.
You comparing Joe Burrow to Hitler, though?
Am I comparing Joe Burrow?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, well, you're basically calling Burrow Hitler.
I don't think so.
Yeah, if you're saying appeasing Joe Burrow isn't going to work, and then comparing it to World War II.
No, I said it does work. Appeasement, right? I don't think there's...
Grossi thinks Joe Burrow is Hitler.
Different hair, different facial features. Is Joe Burrow German? Oh, Austrian.
This is true, Johnny. I thought about this last night.
Johnny calls out in the middle of the show.
Where's my money?
Where's my money, Brandon?
Could you just bill King Andrew directly from now on?
I listen. I prepaid Johnny for things, so I'm good and clear right now.
Nice.
Good right this second. So, just saying. Let's talk about the Cooper Kupp, because I do want to talk about this. You talked about Cooper Kupp and T. Higgins in the same breath. How are you feeling about that? And again, I looked it up this morning. The exact contract details haven't come out, and that's also going to make just a FYI for everybody in blanket statement. Again, when these contract numbers come out, right, it's more for the agent, right? It's like, hey, look at this big number that's here. Let's see what the actual guaranteed money looks like and what the structure is. Stingley, for example, he got paid, was it $90 million? But it was $79 million guaranteed. So that just that last $1 million, they're like, we can't make this a fully guaranteed contract, but we could get I'm sorry, $90 million. Yeah, $89 million guaranteed. $90 million, 89 guaranteed. But for Cooper, I don't know what his guaranteed money is. He's averaging $15 million a year, but it's $45 million for 3 years. How do you feel about this signing for the Seahawks? Because I'm not over the moon about it.
I think it was necessary. They needed somebody.
St. Patty's Day.
You know, you let DK go. Lockett getting older, he's gone. They needed somebody. Will it replace the production DK Metcalf had? Probably not, but I think there's like this idea that how JSN was used is going to be exactly the same with Cooper Kupp there, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I think he filled a slightly different role because they had DK. But if Kupp stays healthy, then, you know, I think Sam Darnold has 2 nice targets to throw to. I think they needed it. Is it going to make them a playoff team? I don't know about that. We have questions about Sam Darnold. We've just got more questions about the Seahawks than, answers at this point.
Well, the thing that's going to make the difference for the Seahawks is their offensive line. They need to make their offensive line better, and that's going to be done within the draft, which they need to, because they need to get younger in that position and actually just develop some guys and nail some picks there. But ultimately, this is why for Cooper Kupp specifically, I really want to see what the breakdown of that money looks like. Because if it's $45 million and they guaranteed 30 million of it, right? So you're paying them like 15 for the first two, and then there's no guaranteed money left. Okay. It's just last year, it was not good. It was not. And again, maybe they can use them a little bit differently, and it's, put up like decent numbers, he's good. Because what for that money, for 15 million a year, what do his stats need to look like? He's got 6-7 touchdowns and 500 yards.
I hit 900 yards.
You think 900?
You gotta go back to what he did like in 2023. I think is what you're looking for.
Okay, because I think because they need to also get younger there too, right? They traded away DK Metcalf. They got rid of Tyler Lockett. And if they were getting rid of Tyler Lockett because he's a little bit older, then I don't really know why you're bringing in Cooper Kupp, but that's just me. And then I think ultimately for the Seahawks, they're going to have to go get offensive line and wide receiver to eventually develop the next guy. Because JSN, he had a breakout year last season.
Yeah, he's very good.
Really good. So finally, because I was like, oh man, when he first got drafted by the Seahawks, I was like, this sucks, because I thought JSN could be really good. And now he's kind of taking that step.
You're assuming he's going to be the number one guy. And that's fair. I think we also learned the Sam Darnold contract is basically it's a 1-year deal disguised as a 3-year deal. So,
and that's why it makes a huge difference.
If it doesn't work out, the Seahawks will be all right. But I'm thinking Sam Darnold will be pretty good. They can draft a receiver if they want this year. He'll get the ball to Kupp. He'll get the ball to JSN. Those guys know they understand. I think both of those players specifically, they can do all of the things you want your receivers to do. They can run every route. They know how to get open, and it'll just be about building chemistry, like the kind you have between, it's why the Bengals move makes sense, because Joe Burrow just has great chemistry with both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So it's just giving Sam Darnold time and those guys time to get on the same page. Those are 3 new pieces. It's probably not going to be great immediately, but those guys got to learn each other. They got to develop together. And maybe second half of the season, that's, I think, when you got to start evaluating who Sam Darnold is in that Seahawks offense with those players.
And again, I think the Seahawks, this is why when they trade away DK and they got rid of Lockett and they traded away Geno, it was okay. They brought in their version of Geno Smith for the money that they wanted to pay Geno. I looked at this and exactly what you said about the contract, the fact that there is an escape route, that if after a year this isn't working, they can move on. That all makes sense to me, because it seems like they're planning for the future. Sure. They go and get a better O-line. They go probably get a quarterback after this draft, right, to go get the guy that they think can lead the franchise. And that made sense. That's why this Cooper Kupp contract was oh, okay, that's a lot of money. Is it the same thing where if after a year, it's not worth, if it's $15 million guaranteed and it's just for the first year, and then they go, hey, if this didn't work out, gone, So thoughts on this? I think for the Vikings, that's a great pickup.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know why the Niners did it.
Because when Jordan Mason played, he looked pretty damn good for the 49ers. Obviously you have CMC and stuff, and maybe they're just going to go get another guy in the draft. But I think this is a great pickup for the Minnesota Vikings, which I personally hate, but I think you're getting a good quality player, and it's not like the asking price was too much.
Because they ditched both Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason. And Jordan Mason was
good.
Still very affordable, right? Yeah. Happy Leprechaun Day. What was Jordan Mason? Mason contract.
Let's see. Right now, there's just estimates, but 2-year, $10 million contract with the Vikings. Yeah, you're rocking. And you have a guy that, you just re-signed Aaron Jones, who's getting a bit older, right? But he was good within your offense last year. You signed him to a 2-year deal. So now you kind of have that running game.
Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason. I love that. I love that for Minnesota.
Yeah.
It is. a back like Aaron Jones does everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the only concern, you're like, okay, it's a little older. Well, now you got a younger guy who played very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's, Kevin O'Connell. He knows how to use him.
Sure. I agree with that. Tie with a bang. Boop. Salary cap is constantly growing. True. Probably going to be about $300 million next year. Just created $30 million in cap space this year, lowering both their cap hits this year. They have more than enough money to improve their O-line and defense. This is true, but that's not within free agency this year. The only move I think the Bengals can make is re-signing Trey Hendrickson, right? And that's what the talk is right now. It's this year, sure. Like, they're going to be able to pay all of their rookie contracts and all that great stuff when they draft. But like, they need to start hitting some home runs in the draft. Like, the Bengals really need to draft and develop folks on the O-line, in the defense, especially that secondary. And then I'm going to feel a lot better. So the only real question is for the Bengals, within 4 years, can they do that? And I agree with you about the growing salary cap. And I'm sure that years from now, 3 years from now, we'll be looking back and be like, hey, remember when they got paid all this money? But it has to work for us to say that, right? Because it's exactly what Perna was saying about the Eagles before, right? The thing that was posted, how he got this done pretty early. And so because of that, they got to save money. The Josh Allen contract that just got done, right? I think that's going to age very well, even if the Bills don't win a Super Bowl, because they're likely going to be in the running because of Josh Allen. So again, I don't think that this makes your team worse. I think it just, what's it going to look like in a couple of years? And that's going to depend on what this front office does within the draft and in future free agencies.
Yeah.
So it's a risk, but if it works, ain't nobody going to be questioning the Bengals,
No, and I think one part of keeping Joe Burrow happy that might pay dividends for the Bengals is when it's time to redo his contract or extend his deal. Maybe he's giving him a little bit of flexibility. I'm not saying like he's going to take like a team friendly or a team discount, but a team friendly deal. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we can structure it so we have the cap space moving forward because you guys delivered on your promise to keep and bring back the guys like I wanted here.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
You like football?
Yeah, I do.
We do too.
It's just the thing that's tricky with Cincinnati is like we just watched this play out last year and it didn't work for them. That's why they're if they were in the playoffs last year, they won a game in the postseason, or even if they lost to, say, it was like the Chiefs or Ravens, like an understandable sort of loss, I think we'd be looking at this a little different. But they had to bank on the Broncos losing that final week. The Chiefs didn't play their starters. They were just they didn't control their destiny because they fucked up the month of September.
Well, and that's the thing too. And someone mentioned that in a chat before, that the December Bengals were different, right? Like we were talking about in December, like, hey, if the Bengals wind up making the playoffs, like this could be a lot of fun. Like they could potentially make this work and win a game or two, but because it didn't get there. And I agree with that. It's just going to be, can they start faster? Because it feels like they've been starting slow. So Matthew, it's the same in terms of how we got it for a lot cheaper.
Yeah. I guess the other part of that too, it's like, okay, Al Golden is their defensive coordinator. That was their linebackers coach. Is he going to be that much better than Lou?
Yeah, it's Lou. Yeah.
Like that's the other, like, we don't know what their defense is going to be like. It's weird when you fire a guy that was widely considered a very good defensive coordinator and you replace him with your own linebackers coach. It's like, are you actually making a change that's going to really help the defense overall? Is Al Golden's defensive philosophy going to be that much different than the guy he's been working under and with in Lou for so long? Like, I don't know.
It's a great question. Supper, I feel like Zach Taylor's seat has already been warm. I think within the next 2.5 years, if this doesn't work out, then that's going to get really, really hot. I don't put that all on him, though, because it's the GM's job to build the roster, right? So Zach Taylor is not really ignoring the defense. That's the GM to assemble the roster and the head coach to coach the roster that he has. So I don't know if that's really falling on Zach Taylor's shoulders, but And
yes, Al's coming over from Notre Dame, but he was with Lou back in before with the Bengals, right? Am I wrong there?
Sure. It's a good point, Everett.
Linebackers coach from 2020, 2021. Then he was with Notre Dame, but he was under Lou. That's what I mean.
Under Lou.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I want to see the Bengals in the playoffs. The Bengals are fun in the playoffs. The Bengals are a fun football team. I enjoy watching the Bengals. Yeah, I mean, like I think everyone could just agree, like this is a swing. This is a big old swing, and we'll see if it's going to wind up paying off. Other guys,
maybe it does.
Maybe. Other guys want to talk about Jameis Winston. He visited the Giants. Russell Wilson, he visited the Giants. Apparently, the meeting with Russ went pretty well because, of course, the other major story that we're all waiting upon is Aaron Rodgers.
This fucker.
I will die. It's interesting because all the stories that are coming out, and I mentioned this on Friday, like, is this more like media buildup? It seems like Rodgers is just kind of hanging out on a beach and just making teams wait, right? And teams are doing their due diligence to work around that. Now, the Vikings, they still need to go probably get another backup quarterback. The Giants, they have Russ coming in. They have Jameis coming in. It seems like they're already starting to move around. And the Steelers, we're going to see what the hell the Steelers are going to do. But they brought in Mason Rudolph, who I can't imagine is going to be their starter, even though I love Mason Rudolph, especially in Pittsburgh. I don't think that is going to be their guy. So I'm still thinking it's the Steelers if he's going to come back and play. But I think the best fit in terms of going to win a Super Bowl is probably the Vikings. But then it's just, do the Vikings want him? And everything that they're saying, it feels like they just want to rock with JJ.
Yeah. I have no idea why you would, one, choose Aaron Rodgers over Sam Darnold when Sam Darnold's already on your roster, knows everything about your offense, had success with you last year. If you're like, you know what, we actually think JJ is going to need more time. I don't know why you would choose Rodgers over Sam Darnold if you thought JJ needs more time. And I don't think they think JJ needs more time. I think he will be their week 1 starter. And if you pay a guy like Aaron Rodgers, then you're paying him to start the season for you and eventually give that role over to JJ. Like, none of that makes sense. I feel like it's a made-up, and if he signs here, I'll be wrong. I feel like it's a made-up story because shit is so dry and boring right now.
I agree.
I feel like it's just been fabricated.
But dude, like, even the stories coming out about Rodgers, like Aaron Rodgers has a lot of interest in the Vikings. There hasn't been the Vikings have interest in Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Like they're, and I'm sure they have had conversations, but the only way that this makes sense for me is if it's like a 1-year deal. It's a 1-year deal for not a lot of money for Aaron Rodgers and go, all right, let's try for one. JJ sits for another year, learns behind Aaron Rodgers. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
If Aaron Rodgers called Minnesota and said, I will play on the cheapest contract you can offer, and I just don't think that's what Rodgers would do. The only thing that wouldn't be surprising about that is Aaron Rodgers trying to do something that's surprising.
I do not think the Titans are going to give up their top draft pick for Purdy, and I don't think they should. No. The loser there is Russell Wilson. 49ers, we'll see.
There's 2 teams that could use him, the Steelers and the Giants, and they're both just like, we're going to wait for Rodgers. It's like, shit, man. Shit.
Offseason champs is the reigning defending offseason champs in the Chicago Bears, but I do like what the Rams have done a lot. I do like the Rams. Yeah, I feel like, do you think it's the Steelers if he plays?
Yeah.
I think it's the Steelers. I think it makes the most amount of sense with, they just got DK, Tomlin and him.
The reason I like the Giants is because I think Rodgers and Dable are a better fit than Rodgers and Arthur Smith.
There you go.
But
I hope it does work out.
Trying to guess what Aaron Rodgers is thinking. It's like trying to hit the lotto.
Both difficult things.
I don't know. And like you said Friday, I thought what you said Friday is like, this whole thing has been more of a media-led sort of debacle than like Rodgers taking his time to figure out what he's going to do next. So
I agree. I think
we were misled to think he was going to decide soon when he probably didn't tell anybody any sort of fucking timeline. Because
we don't even know what the timeline is.
No.
Right? Like all we're seeing is here's some interest, and teams are doing things to just move about their season.
Yeah.
Like the Giants are like, hey, like we're doing stuff. And I think it's so funny because the Giants, he doesn't move the needle for me, right? They're a more competitive team, but like they're going to go and draft their quarterback. And again, like learning behind it, I don't think but they're not winning a Super Bowl this year, in my opinion. I don't think the Giants are winning a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think that's a hot take.
Aaron Rodgers is not winning a Super Bowl this year. I'll just say that. I don't care where the fuck he goes.
The only team that I think it could happen.
Unless he's backing up Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes, Rodgers not winning shit. Let's just be honest. He's not winning a Super Bowl.
I think it's with Satan is the only, which is
maybe with the devil.
Which is why I think it's the only reason why this story has legs right now. But yeah, I think it's more of like, here's something to talk about rather than something that's actually going to happen. I think Pittsburgh makes sense just for the ties there. Maybe they'll win that playoff game, but other than that.
I feel like Aaron Rodgers at this point would choose the Cleveland Browns just to trick all of us. Just to trick us all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what's so annoying about this. It's like, why do we actually care? It's just because of Aaron Rodgers' legacy as an NFL quarterback, right? And I think he can still play quarterback at a above average level. But he's not turning the Steelers into a contender. He's not turning the Giants into a contender. He's probably making the Giants better because their quarterback play was so bad last year. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields gave the Steelers an average level of quarterback play. There were times when both quarterbacks looked above average. Mm-hmm. Russ wasn't terrible for the Steelers. He was just like he was in Denver. But we're waiting on this decision just because Aaron Rodgers is a big name. He's won a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. He will be a Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. But at this point, he is not interesting to me as a NFL quarterback. Mm-hmm. And now that I've said that, I'll probably be wrong. He'll probably be comeback player of the year, even though he wasn't hurt. They're like, damn, he just needed to go to the Steelers. But like, I'm just annoyed by it. Like, in that it's not going to be as impactful as we're kind of making it out to be, but it's the biggest story remaining until the draft.
It's true. That's true. The annexation of Austria, and here, let's give them Czechoslovakia. That'll make them happy. Yes, actually invading Poland with the West was like, oh, we actually got to do something now. True story. Yes, I agree, and I think the Vikings is funny, right? Because it
would be hilarious.
The Vikings is funny because it's, oh my God, are you really going to have another Hall of Fame quarterback go from the Packers to the Jets to the Vikings? That's just, I think there's the meme potential is just very, very, very high right now. But as an actual story, a 1-year deal is the only thing that makes sense for the Vikings for me. It's a 1-year deal. You went out and got your quarterback that you think is your guy because they have the roster to compete. Like, I do think the Vikings have a roster to compete, obviously. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Vikings are going to do draft stuff in the next 2 weeks. So I haven't looked into individual prospects just yet. I got to get out of free agency at first. But a field stretcher would be very nice. Very nice. Yeah, well, you needed to draft offensive line in the first round if you're the Seahawks anyway. Like, I think you needed to do that. I agree. But yeah, you need to go get him. Need to be the interior better. The one thing I do want to talk about is Derek Stingley, because that's a big time contract. We talked about J.C. Horn getting a big time deal with the Carolina Panthers, and now this makes a ton of sense for me. Like, Stingley's a fantastic player.
Yeah,
I think you have a defense which they're already trying to build up, and it makes it even better. And I think the Texans, regardless of what's going on with their offensive line, because they are going to have to replace some guys, in the draft. This defense is going to be really damn good, and that's going to make the Texans overall better. The offense just needs to kind of catch up now.
They're investing in their secondary.
Yeah.
That's never a bad thing in the NFL. And they've got a defensive front that can get to the quarterback. Like, we saw that make them competitive against the Chiefs in the playoffs until, that game wasn't competitive. But like, Will Anderson, he's a big reason for that. He's still on his rookie deal. They traded up to get him. It's kind of like what you would hope the Bengals would do, but we'll see. It's a good signing, and Stingley was injured coming into the NFL, right? Like what was his injury?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I
Was
gotta
it
be
Derek
honest with you.
Stingley who was injured when he was drafted by the Texans? It was like I can't remember. And he's only 23 right now. Hold on.
Yeah,
Stingley,
he's super young.
injury, draft.
The only thing with the Stingley extension, let me just confirm this real quick. It's 3 years, right?
Yeah.
It's 3 years, 90. The only thing that gives me a little hesitation, I wish it was longer. I wish it was like a 4-year deal because he is super young.
Yeah,
like Stingley, if he performs well for this contract, like he's going to get another major contract. So I'm sure that for Stingley, this is amazing, right? I mean, the dude's going to be making a ton of money. So yeah, 89. So it's initial. We'll see like what it actually comes out, but $90 million for 3 years and $89 million guaranteed. It's insane. It's insane. He was an all-pro this year, though. Like he had a phenomenal season.
Let's see.
Thoughts on Buffalo? Get a younger pass rusher and probably some more wide receivers. But what else is their division doing? Patriots, like they hopefully will be taking some steps, but who the hell knows with the Dolphins and who the hell knows with the Jets? So looking better in Minnesota. Minnesota, I mean, like, look at Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold had a really good season last year. You have KOC, you have the coach, and you have the weapons. You just need the interior offensive line. So, yeah, I think it'd be Minnesota, but I don't think he's going to go there because I don't know if they're going to have Is it possible that JJ struggles? Sure. I mean, it also might struggle because, like, he's basically a rookie. He hasn't taken, like, a full NFL snap.
No,
so,
he is a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, like, in that case, there's 100% it could be, but the Vikings just need to go, okay, are we going to invest in him and see what we got right now? Or are we going to go and bring in a veteran that we think we can go win a Super Bowl right this second? But there is no guarantee that you are winning a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. Just ask the Jets.
Yeah.
Because when we were talking about the Jets,
if you think you're winning a Super Bowl with Rodgers.
Yeah. I mean, because with the Jets, it was they have the defense, right? They just need a quarterback. They just need a quarterback.
Yeah.
So, yes, they're shutting down like the whole entire street. So you actually go on Packers website. They have the mock-ups. Let's see. No, not mock drafts. Hold on. This. Yeah, they came out these a couple weeks ago. This is what it's going to look like in Green Bay. So Titletown's going to have a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, look at this. Look at this. It's fancy. But they're shutting down literally the entire street. And then the stage is right here. So it's near the Resch Center. Oh, I'm not sharing. Am I sharing the screen?
Nope. Nobody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, here. Why? There it is. Sorry. This guy.
I'm the leprechaun.
So they're shutting down the whole street. There's Lambeau. Right by the Resch Center. That's where the stage is going to be. Sorry. Okay. Should be good, though. Should be good.
Yes, they did.
Broncos did have a very good free agency.
C+. C+. If Sam Darnold's good, that grade will go up on my curve. Yeah, we just learned today that Dre Greenlaw's deal too with the Broncos is also essentially like a 1-year deal in a 3-year. So like if Dre doesn't work out after this year, like they can make a change. I think he's going to work out. And I think then we're going to be talking about how good of a deal Dre has.
The Bengals won their final 5 games, but yes, still, December Bengals were different than September Bengals.
Yeah.
Cool.
And now we'll see.
Depends on a lot of things. Depends on money. Depends on because that's I hate talking about Aaron Rodgers again, but like that's going to also be what's the turn. If it's true that Aaron Rodgers really wants to go to the Vikings, we're going to see how bad because it's exactly what Brandon said. Like if he goes to the Vikings, like, hey, I will play for a vet min just to try and go win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
then I go, okay, 1 year deal. Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's right, Cooper Rush.
Because is Rodgers
Around-
getting paid by the Jets this year, no matter what he does?
Let's
I know they have a big dead cap hit, and it depends on, like, they're going to probably split it up with your post-June bullshit or whatever, but, like...
Hold on, I'm trying to look.
Can he do the Russell Wilson thing where the Vikings pay him like $2 million and the rest is owed to him by the Jets?
Yeah, I don't know what's the cash breakdown? I'm trying to see just what is guaranteed. I don't know. Okay, so he signed the 3-year, $112.5 million with the Jets, 75 guaranteed. So in 2025, Rodgers will earn, while carrying a cap hit, $23.5 million. That's what it says. So he's going to earn 23.5 mil.
He'll get paid $23.5 million?
That's what Over the Cap Spot Track says.
Okay.
So, Ravens cooked? No. I don't think the Ravens are cooked. It's just, can you figure out the configuration that you need to go win a Super Bowl? You know, and that includes sometimes it's who you're playing, the schedule, actually winning some playoff games. I don't think they're cooked because you have Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson is going to keep you competitive. So that's what I want to see. To the Atlanta Falcons. That'll actually put the Falcons over the top. They just need another aging quarterback and it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. This would be funny. And I think the Coles cash would carry over too for Kirk Cousins if he went back to Minnesota. So
yeah, I still think Kirk could be traded.
Yeah, I think so too. It's possible. They just paid him $10 million.
They paid him 10, but I think Kirk is also being held up by Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
If the Steelers don't get Rodgers, I am sure they will call the Falcons. I'm not saying it will definitely happen, but I would assume the Giants and or the Steelers would call the Falcons. And also, those teams can wait until after the draft to make that decision too.
Yes.
Because he was paid that $10 million. So it might be a post-draft trade. We could have that would be kind of crazy, right?
We could.
But who knows?
Should they trade up for Genty, the Broncos?
Fuck yeah. Go for it. Kidding me? I think, yeah, give me another weapon.
Bring back Trey Lance. Let Trey Lance take over the league. That should be the backup in Dallas.
Yeah, Cooper Rush to the Ravens is funny.
Yeah.
I think he's a solid backup quarterback. I think it's a nice move for the Ravens.
You can win games.
It's just odd when you have a quarterback like Lamar Jackson and then you go, Cooper Rush will be your backup. He plays a completely different offense than you, and if you get hurt, we got to change everything, but Cooper Rush.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're division taking.
I guarantee it will happen. Broncos first place.
This season?
Oh, yeah.
The 2025 to 2026 NFL season, you're guaranteeing the Broncos.
Denver Broncos first place. AFC West, Rosenbars.
Okay. There you go.
Chargers ain't doing it. Chiefs ain't doing it. It's out.
Perna got a fitting.
Oh. An unsolicited KOC pick. Nick, I like the way you think. Aaron Rodgers could, I think, very easily defraud the state of California, too. So even after retirement, that place is ripe to be taken advantage of.
It's a great long silence. It's a great long silence. Perna, what do you got coming out, my friend?
Bengals. Going balls deep into the Bengals.
There you
go. Hopefully Johnny and I can finish editing that as I polish off that script with Will this morning.
It'd make the Giants better. I worry about the offensive line a little bit. You got to pee?
Always.
Oh, always. I'm going to be going live in like 10 minutes because we got to do boops and feet.
King Andrew.
I'm waiting on Hendrickson. I want to put out because last night when the Jamar Chase and T. Higgins news broke, I put out a video there, so you can go check that out. But I want to wait to see what happens with Hendrickson before I make every NFL fan's reaction. That same thing with scripted too, but both of those should be coming out this week. We'll see what happens today, but I'll be live in a few minutes. But
nice,
folks,
I will be sending King Andrew just my ACH bank account information.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Folks, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on Wednesday, right? Wednesday, we're rocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're rolling. No Friday show. I'll be.
Oh, you're away on Friday?
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you keep us posted.
I mean,
That's
I'm going
what
to
I'll
be
do.
leaving, and I think I'll be leaving while we'll be doing this.
Got it. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. This is GPS, and you have been navigated.
And you've reached your destination.
Someone said you look like a Viltrumite.